It says we're live.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Right, thank you. Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sandwich Toll Fund Finance Committee meeting held on the 29th of July. First of all, we are quorum, check we are quorum. Councillor Green will stay for one of the items. The first item on the agenda, though, which is covered in here, is that we have to elect a chair for this committee. And the process is the nominations. Each person gets one vote. They may vote for themselves if they put themselves forward as chair. And in the event of a tie, the existing chair has a casting vote, and of course that person may or may not vote for himself. All right. So the first thing is, does anyone else wish to stand as chair? I am willing to stand, but someone else.
I'll second Councillor Black.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, basic green.
This sounds like gerrymandering to me. Okay, so all in favour? Can I vote against myself? Right, okay.
Hang on, I didn't get the proposed and second.
I
Proposed, and then it was Councillor Wiles who seconded.
Okay.
I proposed. Did you? All right, so
Whichever.
round.
Right, whichever way around.
Seems long.
Right. Well, first of all, Councillor Green will be leaving this committee. I'd like to thank him for the amount of hard work he's put in over 2 or 3 years on this committee. He's been an extremely valuable asset to this committee with a very forensic approach, and we will certainly miss that forensic approach. So thank you very much, Peter, for all of your input.
Thank you.
May I ask, do we have agreement that we should move item 726.8 to the next item on the agenda? Anyone? I will propose that. Anyone please second it?
After apologies and.
But if we can need to do apologies and so on first, do we have apologies?
Yes, we have Councillor Anderson work commitment, personal commitment, Councillor P. Carter work commitment, Councillor Moore has personal commitment, and Councillor Marie, it was a work commitment. He's got to work really early tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any declarations of disposable pecuniary interests from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda? No? Right. Shall we move on to the item on 726.6? Because the other matters of the
Have we not got minutes of last week?
well, we have minutes of
Yeah.
after this. Do we have to do the minutes?
No, we have to do the minutes now.
We have to do the minutes, right?
First of business.
Okay. Looking at the minutes, are there any questions, queries about the minutes? The Keystone movement to the SDC or STBF, is that resolved?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The cash flow forecast has been supplied and the payment has been agreed. I have a copy of the cash flow statement. If any councillor would like to get a copy of that, would you please contact the RFO? Okay. There are two withdrawals this year, one in quarter 2, one in quarter 4. They are part of the budgeting process, but if you want more information, please contact the RFO. Right, I'll sign these minutes now. Voting are they true record? Can I get a vote first? Can I propose that these are true record? Councillor Wiles, seconded by Councillor Pennington. Are we unanimous?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, shall I sign them just now then?
Yes, please.
Excellent. That's right. And I sign each page? Yeah. Or just initial it?
Just initial on the bottom and then sign at the back.
You'd like to check that, make sure you're happy?
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Let's go back to changing the agenda. I propose that we change the agenda and take item 726.8 next. Are there any objections to that? No. Right. We have, when we look at that, you care to look at the papers, just now we put it up and online. So, right, we'll just bring up one thing. The town clerk has very helpfully given us a summary of 5 companies' response to us. That's Girlings have responded, Bates Wells solicitors have responded, the Good Governance Institute, who are of course consultants rather than legal firm, have responded, NCVO have responded, and Moore and Furley Page, we don't seem to have had any response from them. The Girlings have not given us a formal proposal. We have 2 formal proposals in front of us, Bates Wells and Good Governance, but of course the prices are interesting. The NCVO could not advise along the full range of structural options. So it seems to me that we need to take a view about, do we want to proceed with any of these? That's the first option. And secondly, if we do want to, are there any preferred options? Bear in mind that Bates Wells are not solicitors.
Bates Wells are.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's Good Governance Institute, they're not solicitors. It's Bates Wells are the solicitors. Safer, would you care to give us any comments as to how you arrived at these conclusions?
Sorry?
Would you like to give us a bit more background as to how you arrived at these ratings?
I mean, they are, they really summarise my subjective thoughts. I think, given the scope of what the committee has outlined, that they want to look at the options as well as just the governance of the charity in its existing form. I don't think the NCVO is a runner at this point. I think we could perhaps combine Girlings and look at the options, and if option 1 of the presentation paper was deemed to be a good option, you could then go forward with the NCVO, and you could get you could get the STBF in better shape via option 1 through that route. Or if you want to go for looking at all 3 options, I think Girlings, solicitors, it could be that, it's hard for me to, I can't judge, it's very hard to, I can't give you a definitive answer. My experience of dealing with the lady at Girlings has always been very good. She's always been very good, and I don't see why she can't do a very good job at that price. However, she hasn't laid out in a clear and concise way, as the other 2 have, a formal proposal, and I think that's her starter price, if you see what I mean. I think 2,500 and 300, it will be what she charges to say, well, these are your options, and now I'm going to bill you for the rest. So Yeah. This is when I'm delighted I'm not a councillor.
Can I check what have we got in the budget for this year?
10,000.
10,000. But that's for this year,
For the review.
for the total review.
Yeah.
So if anything comes up from Good Governance Institute, we would have legal fees on top of that.
Mhm.
Although they are the most expensive to do the initial advice. They are specialist consultants in this field and have experts in it. Well, on to the meeting, first of all, do we want to consider girlings, even though they haven't come into us, and this proposal is obviously a pretty loose proposal in terms of cost.
I got an email. Do you want me to? I'll get up the email that she wrote to me and read it out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for forwarding the feasibility inquiry on the Tollbridge Fund charity. The feasibility document has identified valid areas of concerns and various options for the future. The historic nature of the charity and lack of clear constitution over and above the Acts do indeed give cause for concern, and I agree it would be wise to conduct a full review. As discussed over the phone, I would suggest that the identified options should be added to the possibility of merging the fund into the Georgina Maddox Trust, given that is now fully constituted. Clearly, the final options depend on the full review, but I'm conscious that the council has already addressed some of the key concerns related to Tollbridge Trust in the establishment of that charity, and so it may be one of the potentially viable options which should be considered. The scope of the work as identified in the feasibility study would be as follows. A, review of the existing documentation and issues identified. B, options paper, including advantages, disadvantages resulting from review for consideration by the council. Estimate for implementation costs for the options identified. There is the big rider. I estimate the cost for this piece of work would be 2,500 to 3,000 plus VAT. If you have any queries, that's why I wrote limitations, and this was me saying potential concern that the options paper may largely expand on our existing feasibility paper rather than provide fresh analysis, and then they'll start charging.
Yeah, so to a certain it's
But that's my personal
yes, but on the other hand, you've also got a detailed knowledge of how good they are and how effective they've been in the past. But it does sound a bit like borrowing your watch and telling you the time. Yeah.
Chair, one of the options I understand is 30 page.
They didn't come back. I spoke to them twice.
Okay, so
more than 30 pages.
Yeah, I can look at more, but 30 pages have actually undertaken a review of, the first stage, what you've described that Girlings are proposing. 30 pages have actually done that exercise, or at least a part of that exercise and review. So I wonder whether going back to 30 page, I can give you the contact details of the partner who reviewed it before. I think it would be worth giving them as an option. It certainly sits within their scope of what they can do. That my first choice with that. If not, I'd go to London. I wouldn't worry with anyone locally here. I think it needs experts.
Bates Wells were really good, and what I really liked about when I spoke to them, the one that she came up with straight away was to create STBF 2, basically to create a clean skin charity, in effect, which was governance sound and clean, and then take the assets and drop it into the clean. And I know none of us had thought of that, and she just came up with it like that straight away. And I was like, oh wow, that's pretty good. But I don't know. I don't know.
Thank you. Councillor Wells.
Yeah, I think this has been going on for some time. It's really an opportunity to carry out a really important piece of work, probably once in a generation. So we need to get it right. So we need to employ the very best company to do that. I think it's really between CGI and Bates Wells. I was very impressed with the CGI submission. It's very personalised and focused on the town council. It's more expensive, but their fees are lower in a sense because it's 10 days of work. whereas the Bates Wells, you can see that the fee is £465 per hour for a partner, £345 per hour for a solicitor, whereas the CGI is £700 a day for a consultant. So you're getting much lower fee for the hours you get with the CGI, but it's more expensive. But we need to make the right decision.
Okay, and of course, we've got to keep on remembering for TGI that, of course, there may well be legal costs on top of that.
Yeah. And expenses and
Well, they're all expenses, I reckon. Councillor
Yes, so
Sugar.
3 points. We've agreed the budget, so we do have to cut our cloth. The more attractive somebody might be doesn't mean it's necessary that we should go with them. There's also, just on the Bates Wells, just need to recognise it's not 5 to 6, it's 5 to 6, and then if we want a follow-up review with them, they're going to charge £1,000 to have an hour's meeting, which to me sounds extremely expensive, and I can't quite see how they could justify that. So there should be a challenge back on that. We shouldn't pay £1,000 for an hour. And then, what was my third point? Yes, sorry, legal advice, which has just been mentioned. If we cut the cloth right at the top of what we've got available, and then we have to get legal advice and find out some legal advice what's proposed isn't legal.
That's my great concern.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor.
Yeah, just some thoughts. I was interested to hear about the Furley Page report, and maybe, excuse me, that could be circulated. So, because I think that is useful information. They haven't responded sufficiently on this opportunity, but we own the copyright of the report that they've done before. So I think it would be good for that to be circulated. I'm concerned that the Good Governance Institute will really just play back the governance code which was circulated to all members as part of the Maddox trustee meeting. There was a booklet, Good Governance Code, which the Charity Commission published recently. So I think what they might do is just play back the relevant parts of that to us and charge us, nearly £10,000 for doing so. So that leaves Girlings and Bates Wells. I think what we're asking for is a legal review to decide which of the 3 options are feasible and what needs to be done moving forward. So the implementation phase is against the selected option or options that we decide to take forward. So because we do want a legal review, I don't know that we want a high-flying solicitor from London. I think, yes, they may be the best. We want somebody who would kind of work with us, and I think Girlings have proved to be very good for what they've done. They know us, and I think that we potentially get the result that we're looking for with Girlings. And we are starting from a lower platform, so even if their fees grow 100%, we're still less than Bates Wells.
The people that you've gone to at the moment, are they recommendations, or are they what people know in the past and things like that? Has anyone recommended anyone to look at and talk to at this particular stage, other than research that might be done?
Now it's the town clerk has selected these
spoken to
companies.
various people who work in the charity sector and Google research.
And they pointed you towards those?
Yeah.
And that included Girls, isn't it?
That was Councillor Green's recommendation. I think we started off with Girlings, Molan Furley Page. My friend, who's a director of the Christian Aid, he suggested Good Governance Organisation and NCBO, and then I did some Google research to find the best charity lawyers and work them up.
My worry is there's an awful lot of, the reason I asked that, there's an awful lot of general solicitors out there who do a bit of everything.
Yeah.
I know them quite well, I was 10 years as a practice manager for solicitors, and I know quite a few solicitors who I would go to and say, who do you think for this and that and the other? But it's pretty much what you can find out by going online and doing it as well. It's no different from what you did when you were doing your research, looking into it and getting recommendations. It's just, my worry is that sometimes with general, we do everything type solicitors, there is a risk that costs could just keep on going and keep on going.
Based well on a specific industry sector. The Girlings Modern Voluntary page, they're more local.
Sorry, Girlings, their partner is a
Yeah, she
charity
is charity.
specialist,
Yeah, she is.
and
charity.
she only does charity work.
But there's a lot of solicitors who have specialists who work in that area. Who's the name of the solicitor there that does that?
Caroline Armitage.
Sorry?
She's called Caroline Armitage.
So there's quite a few solicitors who will have a specialist who work in that particular area. I take that on board what you're saying there. And, you know, it's, but your feeling for that was that you didn't know whether it was very open
What do you mean?
in what they do this and then they might charge more for that.
Well,
It felt
welcome
like that.
solicitors. Full stop.
That's always the problem with solicitors, isn't it?
And I think that's the point in terms of if we veer towards Girlings, I don't think what they've provided is sufficient. It's not a clear proposal from them what they'll do. So if we want to go down that route, it's back to Councillor Lars' point, we want to get it right as one opportunity, so we don't need to do. Sorry, we shouldn't be doing it quickly, we should be doing it correctly. If we want to propose Girlings at least being in the ring with one other or just there, then we need to go back to and get a clear explanation for how they're going to approach this in terms of likely costs, etc. The email is just.
Yeah, I share that concern. And my other concern is that because they've worked with us so closely, I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to think out of the box. That's just a concern I've got, because they do clearly know what the main drivers are, but they haven't asked the fundamental questions, perhaps. Do you really know what you want? I'm not sure that we are fully convinced across the whole council there. But we're asked to do three things. Well, first of all, we note the reports of the consulate report. I don't think that'll be controversial when it comes to it. We are then asked to consider the comparative information provided. And looking at this, I would suggest more than more are definitely not worth considering. It is one of the actions for the town clerk to follow up on Julian's suggestion to see if Furley Page are possibles, or whether we really got as much as we're going to get out of them by the report we've already had from them. And then it comes down, it strikes me, as we want legal advice, I'm hearing, so that comes down quickly to Girlings and Bates Wells, whereas GTI may give us best government practice, but is that necessarily the best legal practice and the best way to achieve? That's my concern. John?
I was just reading that, I mean, spot on there with that. The other thing is that there's no reason why we can't go back to anyone who is interested in taking on this work and saying, we need a cap.
Yeah.
We need to know this is what we want delivered. We want a cap. The person that you spoke to that said we could just create a new charity and dump everything in there, that has clearly got a very fixed cost attached to it. There may be some considerations which need sorting out. I'm not suggesting you go down this route for a second, but there may be some costs as to the complications of ending what was the previous entity, but in creating the new one with all its legislation and all of its everything that it needs to have, it should be quite easy for someone to say, this is how much I would charge for creating this for you, and it doesn't go any further. And people need to be capping it and not saying, it's not a legal action against someone where you could have people coming back and counter-arguing. It's a very definite thing, and they should be able to say, but I won't charge you more than this. And I think that perhaps some of these solicitors leave it open because it's almost
Really work.
yes.
Right, Councillor Wells, and then Councillor. Councillor Penny, can you first?
Yes.
Please.
No,
No, let's go with you, no, councillor.
I mean, the legal aspects of this are important, but this is primarily a governance issue, isn't it? It's about how we as a council, as trustee, are governing the charity. Obviously, any consultant will have legal advisors feeding into that, but it's primarily about governance.
I thought the Good Governance Institute specifically said they would have to then charge additional, we would still need to get legal advice as an additional cost.
But they're working across the whole.
I understand that, but our budget is 10K, and that's my concern. But I thank, yeah, I mean, it's an important point. Councillor Penny.
Yeah, in my view, none of these offers seems to exactly
Make our
hit
needs.
the nail on the head. I've been in situations before where I've had proposals from companies and said, it's good as far as it goes, but it's weak on X, Y, and Z. Can you include that? And we seem to be in a position where we need to do that. I would strongly agree with Councillor Chuka that we need to get, it needs to be correct rather than quick.
Yeah, so is the best way forward to shortlist 2 companies and to have a refined discussion with them and make sure that we're actually getting what we want from the review and feedback for a final decision.
You want, if it's 2 companies, are you talking of?
I'm talking of Bates, Wells and Girlings.
Sorry, and
Bates, Wells, solicitors and Girlings.
Girlings, yes.
And go.
Yeah, and that excluding the Good Governance Institute. Yes.
Yeah, but let's not forget that we've got a budget of 10,000. All we're doing here is getting a review of what we want to do. So whatever option we end up ultimately going with, and if it's not to do nothing, there will be costs.
Yes.
And we've got a budget that is 10,000. So let's just remember that the way forward will involve, for example, the new charity, if that's a way to go. That will involve then setting up all the documentation, getting all the measures in place, and all the things that will cost money. So just need to recognise.
I recognise that, but even changing the present system will involve us doing, I suspect, 70 to 80% of that anyway.
That's not included in the budget. The budget is for the review, not.
No,
budget.
I understand that. But they're going to be, going to have to advise us on our procedures and everything else.
Yes, but then we can go and develop our own procedures just as we're developing. There are big issues like the conflict of interest.
Yeah.
It's a really tricky one, this,
Okay.
where the toll bridge's main beneficiary is Sandwich Town Council.
Okay. So can I try to arrive at some form of conclusion here? We will note the contents of the report subject every evening. We consider the information received. Now, it then says, what do we want to ask the town clerk to do? Do we want, first of all, to bother contacting Furley Page again? What's the view of the meeting? I'm not hearing a lot of approval, so.
I think it had been contacted twice.
Fair point. Okay. Are we then going to concentrate just on solicitors and not do the Good Government Institute? What's the view of the meeting? Is there anyone who, I think Councillor Wiles, you're perhaps a bit more enthusiastic about the Good Governance Institute than some. Is that
I just think it's such a big decision. We're being led by the budget. To me, the budget's not so important as getting it right. 20 years from now, the money you spend on this will be irrelevant. If it works and it's right, then it's worth spending more.
Mhm.
If you're going to employ a solicitor, why is Bates Wells at £500 an hour better than Girlings at £200-300 an hour?
That's always the question, isn't it? And it comes down in part to reputation and areas and expertise in depth. We know Girling's a pretty good person, but it's one person. Whereas the other company, Bates Wells, I think have got more expertise in depth because that's an area they specialise in.
Well, the London rates.
And the point is that on CGI, they're going to give us governance advice, they're not going to give us legal advice, so we have to get a solicitor on top of that. And, you know, whilst I understand that, well, we have to be cost driven, we do have to have a budget, and we've agreed the budget. If we end up spending 25,000, is that a good use of the money within the Tollbridge Fund? I would argue not. We have to arrive at a sensible decision.
True, but we also remember that let's not spoil the sheep behaviour of the top.
But we have a budget of 10,000.
I was just saying, I think it would be more necessary to forget about the other people's, sorry? CGI, thank you. I think it would be wrong to just dismiss.
Not CGI, GGI. GGI.
So I think it'd be wrong to necessarily just dismiss them because they only deal with one aspect of it. Because have we been back to them and said, who do you really work with? If we wanted this done, what would it, do you think there's a partner that you would recommend to work with to deliver the other part of it if it's a complete thing? It's, as you correctly said, that's what I was, is that there is, that element of it is very, very substantial. There is the legal element afterwards as well, but they might be able to give just by going back, give us a round the idea. But you might be right to just say that it's two people and just go with that. That's I don't know if it's right necessarily to dismiss.
I think the GGI report, there's a section on deliverables, which I think is quite useful.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Would it be helpful to read it? Or
Well, it's a basis and a checklist to make sure we're getting,
This is what they-
comparative bids from all of the organisations.
So what we will get is a governance appraisal. We won't get legal
Option
advice.
appraisal.
Yes, and options into, yes, it'll be governance.
Well, we said that our main concern was, first, our fundamental concern is, are we legal?
Yes.
That is our very first question.
Yes. Yes,
Councillor.
I was beginning to think along the same lines that if we can have just some clear legal advice, limited advice, and then put that into governance context and maybe get advice on the governance. Maybe we should do it in 2 steps.
Okay, right. Well, we need to arrive. We're not coming to a final conclusion today. What do we want to ask the town clerk to pursue further? We've ruled out 30 page. We haven't heard any enthusiasm or comments for NCVO. So we seem to be down to, do we ask all three for more details? Because we're a bit sceptical that Girlings are maybe a little bit on the inexpensive side, which may not give us the full details. Bates Wells are London based, so they'll charge London rates, but they are a specialist firm. And Good Governance are the most expensive, and we must recognise there will be fees on top of that. Now, do we want to ask the town clerk to get them to give us, I mean, I'm not sure we're going to get much more detailed response from Bates Wells and the Good Governance Institute, because they're both pretty comprehensive reports. And I think they were, so the action to confirm with Girlings and then bring the whole thing back to, this is going to have to be decided by STC?
no, it's actually been delegated to the task group, so it can be decided by Green, Black and Gascade.
So look, right at the start of the discussion, what I said was that after the email being raised, it's not sufficient detail. We need to go to Girlings and ask them to scope out exactly what the deliverables are and what that will lead us to in terms of the decision-making process, because we need to compare apples with apples.
Yes.
And we've set out a list of questions we've set out a scope of service. We just need to be able to tabulate what the response is and what they're going to do in respect of it.
Where is that again?
That's in the scope of services document that we drafted.
I did give that to Girlings. I have already given that to them. I didn't not give it to them. They haven't had it. So
They just haven't.
So all we need to do is, we've gone through the first sift, they are included in the next stage of assessment, but for them to be able to be properly considered, they need to give the detail we require to decide.
okay, what detail do we require? Because it's very
Something other than
hard.
just an email.
A specific response to each of the questions that was asked, what they're proposed to do.
Okay.
You've already got responses from others that are clear. Whether we go with them or not is another thing. But they're clear. They've listed what deliverables are. They've listed in terms of the analysis that they'll provide. So that's what that email is it doesn't
Too vague.
Okay. So what first action is we want more detail from Girlings, because we know them, their costs are close to some things that we're used to. The other thing is at the other extreme, is it worth going back to GGI to say, that's a heck of a high fee, is there any scope for reducing that? And what would be the implications of reducing that?
I'm happy to go back and negotiate with them.
I think
I can
that,
try, just say, look, my budget's 10, we need solicitors on top. You've got to
I
take.
think that's a good starting point, so let's do that. Will I propose that we do the following? For Girlings, we want them to answer the specific questions that we've asked.
I think they're saying that they will do that, £3,000.
Which we're a bit sceptical about. Or are we?
Well, that's the point. That's the point. If the figure we're looking at looks attractive financially, that actually doesn't deliver anywhere near what the others will, then it's.
They say they will do it, but without giving us the detail of how it will be done. The second one is Bates Wells. The Weevil Bates Wells have answered the question. They've given us a cost. Okay. So the third thing is to say to the good government institute, we have a budget. This is very close to the top of our budget. We're going to have legal fees on this. Is there something we can do to make it more attractive? You look a tad skeptical about this.
No, I can go and ask.
Yeah. Well,
If they take £1,000 off, that helps.
I was just going to say, if you're going to go back for a second, can you specify more really what you're doing, this and the other? Why not include Furley Page? Because you're doing it anyway. If they've done something in the past that we thought was quite good, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but why would you not include them in that if you're actually giving them more time to come back with a more concrete response?
I'm surprised that a local firm that we've dealt with under different guises in the past, and I've also dealt with Furley Page when I worked in Canterbury, I am very surprised that they haven't come back with a response.
I did check on the emails, they did not. I emailed the partner, the charitable partner. I then called them and spoke to him, and then I emailed again. So
Of course you've done all the things.
I don't have a personal relationship with them, so I can't ring up and say, hi Bob, I spoke to you last week.
You
This is a
spoke
new
to the
matter.
partner who deals with charitable.
Yeah, no, I
business.
emailed, then I spoke to his PA, and then I emailed again. And got no one.
I'm
there was
reluctant to go
talk
back
about-
to Furley Page.
Yeah, that's what's wrong.
I can't,
It sounds as if they either have got so much on that they literally don't want to take anything else on, or there's something else going on, no idea what that would be.
So I think we've got some agreements here in terms of the next step, which is a challenge back to GGI, a conversation with Girlings around what their scope is in terms of what we'll get to, and then maybe look at the other examples that are good examples and use that as a template of what we want them to suggest that they will do for us. Because at the
okay.
moment we haven't got a clear view and therefore sceptical about the costs.
Okay,
Are you content with that?
yeah, I'll see what I can get out of Girlings. It's not, she was certainly working on the principle that this is an ongoing existing relationship and we're building on so,
Yeah.
so I can ask for a proposal, but
So it's a defined piece of work. It's a defined piece of work, so it isn't a continuum, this is a defined piece of work, so we want to have an outcome from that piece of work.
Okay.
Furley Page, what are we going to do about them?
In my view, Furley Page, I can't see any point in pursuing this. If you've already done all the things that you've done, I'm surprised that they haven't come back, because there is existing clients of theirs. It does seem. And
Well,
they may be very good
personally, I've never dealt with them. Have you dealt with them? Recently, so
The
that's,
first ones I did.
yeah. Or maybe I should let you call them.
Why don't you?
Yeah, I
I'll
think
do.
that's a good idea.
All right.
Put me down.
So are we putting them back in for one last chance? Right, so we're down to 4. Okay, so we've asked to look at those 3 recommendations. To note the contents of the report, are we content with that? We need to vote on noting the contents of the report, or just, yeah. Okay, to consider the comparative information provided, which we have done, I think, in great detail, and to delegate any agreed next steps to the clerk. So the only additional one, apart from what we discussed, is for Julian, possibly between Julian and the clerk, to see if there's any particular reason why Furley Page aren't coming back. If they do want to come back, can they give us a detailed proposal along the lines there? If that doesn't materialise, it doesn't materialise. End of discussion with Furley Page. On those, I will propose those.
Can I just confirm the actions, Councillor
Yes.
Mack? So the ones I've got, more detail from Girlings, need a more comprehensive proposal, and obviously I'll write this up properly. GGI, we're looking for a negotiation on the fee.
Yes.
Any actions for Bakes Wells?
Anyone that have any actions for Bakes Wells?
But you were challenging the meeting costs at £1,000, although it's probably 2 hours, 2 solicitors for an hour, and that's how
And we've got to travel down here, mate, travel time.
they would be teams, I don't think they would do travel.
I am probably late. Okay, all right. I'll propose that. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Wells.
Councillor Wise, are we all in agreement? That looks unanimous. Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you, Councillor Bryn.
And as ever, willing to help on any of these aspects as part of this task team.
Thank you. Right, we go. We've done Municipal Finance Committee. Next thing is 726(4), public participation. Have you had any requests for public participation?
No.
Okay. The payment schedules and finance reports, unfortunately, are not available. I understand the last minute glitch occurred.
It's not even a last minute glitch, it's going on and on. I can actually just ran this just before I came into, just while I was in the meeting. At the moment, it's saying I can't do anything because it's massively out of balance. And it just won't let me actually proceed at the moment. And I've been backwards and forwards and said, now this problem, and then they come back sometime later with the resolution. So it is very frustrating, but it comes up every year after we've followed on from the year end. And it's to do with the fact that the software is not intended for a non-council. It's, we're dealing with a charity here and it's reporting in a different way and they're trying to make it work. But that is the complication. I will get there. I've done this several times today and I thought that I would have turned up today with a pack for everyone just to take away afterwards to look at, because it's literally a press the button option once this gets resolved by them. So I apologise, but I'm being held back.
Okay, I mean, it does suggest in the longer term we have to have a very hard look at what we've got here. The difficulty is that the system seems to work reasonably well for SDC business and includes a booking system, as I understand it.
The booking system is on the STBF. The booking system works fine. One of the issues that came up is because the booking system had a difference to this system. It feeds into it. So I don't want to complicate the conversation, but it's, if we're talking about the STBF side of matters, we are talking about a booking system and an accounting system. The accounting system is where I've got the problems, and it shouldn't be complicated. It's a very, very simple setup.
Okay. Well, we can't do anything more on that. We'll move on to the next item, which is 726.6, which is the core status and the action log. I think we've got most things are complete or in progress. Councillors queried why the cost of moving the police stone was listed in STBF. That's in progress at the moment, according to
Yes, that's all been dealt with, so
that's now complete, is it?
you can't, yes, you can see inside of it, it's been completed.
Okay, and the asset register, this really is the same item as was discussed at STC Finance, isn't it?
I think the review,
I think you've got a very
I
comprehensive
think
view.
that's a lot of information there, so, but obviously the asset register would include items that you discussed as well, along the same lines as STC with
They need to be done
artwork
by
and.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay.
Can I
So-
just add to that, one of the complications with the asset register is, I know it was raised at a previous meeting, what's the cost on Fishergate? And it's to do with all the legal costs and the costs of doing things such as toilets that were put in, and so on like that. So there was a lot of money that was spent on that in the past, not an acquisition cost. But the interesting thing is, those costs, for whatever reason, exist in both STC and STBF, and that is clearly wrong. That's something I'm inheriting, and I will get sorted out as part of the asset review that we will be doing when we get everything tidied up.
autumn, winter.
Okay. Are we content to receive the action log? I'll propose that. Can I get a second, please? Councillor Pennington. Councillor Wiles?
Yeah.
Right, unanimous. NatWest banking update, we've covered in the previous meeting, so there's no point doing that. We've just done the relationship review. Then we've got a very detailed set of reports about, in the asset report on 726. Now, again, I'd like to commend you for the detail that has gone into it. I think it is extremely comprehensive. It is also elements of it are, yes, well, that's an interesting suggestion. Clearly, we need to discuss this whole item in much greater detail, subject to some of the things that we talked about at the previous meeting, which is trying to get sort of a comprehensive summary of the item. But I do like the kind of chart, which really summarises the main points for us. Looking at it, I mean, if everything worked as well as the windmill, and that would be wonderful, but it doesn't. We have a very difficult situation with regards to the Empire Cinema, and I'm not sure there are any easy solutions for that. Councillor Wiles.
Going back to what I said at the early meeting, with the Empire, I think we spent about 16,000 in the last year or so, which is not factored into the return. You're saying the returns 0.14% yield on the value.
Yeah, that's based on the current, not going back. I do list the figures.
If you add in the money we spent,
It's minus. Yeah.
we're actually losing.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
And this is what we need to know for the. It was in a tabular form. We can look at that in
That's a very good point.
clarity and make decisions. I think also on the first table, with the red and the green and the orange, I would argue the Empire certainly has as much community value as St Peter's Hall, if not more.
Well, I think that's a matter for you and Julie to discuss.
That's my view.
I'm neutral on that. Councillor, what do you think?
I'll have other comments to go on, but I think on the table, it would be good to actually understand what does low, medium and high actually mean.
Yeah, it's on the, I noticed it's on the other one, but not on,
Yeah.
on the STC.
Yeah, I did it on the other one. I mean, this was, I planned to bring this in September, and I was asked to bring this forward.
Okay.
So I didn't have as much, but yes, I appreciate your explanation after each of them. Why would a community value the Empire? Why would I say that is medium compared to high, where where members of the community are getting so much out of St Peter's Hall because they've got nowhere else to go
So
to?
the numbers
But
are
arguably, someone that loves the cinema could also argue that they get a high, but we could have 18 people, 16 councillors, but everyone could have a different view. It's just my opinion. Most important, I think, at all of it is, looking at the risk to the sector and also, the historic value as well. But yes, community value can be broken down into various sections. Are they bringing people into the town who are going to spend money elsewhere? Yes, so it was just really just a glance. But I can break that down into the individual ones, and I totally understand that. All I've done is given a sort of a snapshot of where it is now, but I have put the costs. But I don't know how long it would take to go. This is why I was hoping for September on this and not this being brought forward, to be able to actually, look at it over the years, going back, how much has actually been, been spent on properties. And they're compliant, none of it's compliance related.
Yes, but there comes a point that is it worth keeping the asset if it's costing us more? It's also different. Councillor Wells, then Councillor
I
Penn.
could argue, I suppose, I agree with you in that in its current form, it's not huge community value because it's not run as well as it could be. But the potential for community is much, much higher.
Exactly.
If it was invested in and properly run and properly managed.
This is a snapshot as it is now.
And let's be careful, let's choose word differently managed.
So maybe the tabular format that you come up with could talk about current status and also
and projected what it could be.
Well, the difficulty you then, if you're trying to determine what it could be, that assumes you know what the best option is. And I'm not sure that we're necessarily experts in entertainment venues.
I think if we continue to own it.
Oh, we can't run it this way.
We will be debating this in 10, 15 years.
Well, we'll run out of money. Councillor.
Thank you. I haven't had the chance to read this in the detail that it deserves since I've got the document, but we did suggest, I think, that the advantage of an overall review of assets would be to help us towards a general approach and what would be our main criteria. It seems to me, as I've often said since I came here, Sandwich is a real jewel, and its heritage importance is far greater than just within the town. And I think we need to look at a strategy that supports that heritage. It doesn't depend on what finance we alone can provide. I think we really need to push the idea of looking at more wider sources of finance and building up a sort of consortium or team that can back what we need to do in terms of keeping these assets. They are important far beyond the boundaries of Sandwich, and I think we need to recognise that and look on that basis.
My report does show that, that there's more to it than just the finance. But as STBF, best terms reasonably obtainable is what we need to look at. So, it doesn't have to be necessarily the highest market rent you could achieve, but you have to analyse everything. And this is the first step in doing that. Once you read the report and just reading this initial report, let know my asset review, it does go into what would be the responsibilities, of the STBF, but it does look at a lot of different factors.
Okay. So I think it's very, very detailed analysis of each of the assets. I'd like to commend you for that. I have read through them, but I think we have to approach this sensibly and over time. So I think, this is the first bite at it, and we're going to come back with more in any case. So I think we need to do that. But I've got some specific questions in the detail. So on the drill hall, and again, sorry, on the cinema. Yes. The issue is we end up jumping into this world of, let's do loads of things. Actually, no, what we're here to do is get an asset strategy in place and then decide how we deal with them that we can afford, and also that could involve discharge of some assets, etc. We have to do this sensibly rather than focus on the sparkly bits, which is what tends to happen, because some of those sparkly bits are going to cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. But a specific question: the insurance for the cinema. I nearly said the True Hall again.
Yeah.
Insurance value. So the value of the building, 320. Where is it?
Well, that's
320,000. Insurance value, 3,474,000.
Yeah, bill cost, yeah. So it's the reinstatement value, that's normal, yeah. Reinstatement value of the size of that building, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
And
If
that
you
was
have
my question, how
£350
to derive at this? So if that's,
Yeah,
my goodness. That's
yeah.
And so we're paying an insurance premium based on it being valued at 3.5 million.
For the rebuild cost,
For
not
the
the
rebuild.
value, not
Has
the,
it got
not the
that
sales
Not
value.
for, so
Yeah.
we're not paying an insurance premium.
Premium on the value of the property, we're paying it on the reinstatement value, the sum assured,
If
insured.
you would.
So if it burnt down, what it would cost to rebuild it, 1,000 square foot, £350 per square foot, 3.5 million.
Listing and all
That's
that
what
sort of
everything else on top, yeah.
Okay, can I,
That's
There's
right.
an
can
idea.
I disagree?
Yes.
Can I disagree with Councillor Chuka slightly on this? Yes, we don't want to spend all our time trying to do the what is and so on. But equally, if we, as part of the strategy, it really has to be how and who will be really looking at what we can do with this, because we are not experts in entertainment venues. Interestingly enough, I think you were there on the last week, and we met somebody who says he works for the BFI, which is Film Institute, and he says that there are some funds available. Quite what they are is could you remember his details at all, Councillor Chuka? I didn't catch his name. Guy with a dark beard, has a kid with it. I can't remember his name though. That's a slightly unusual name. Sorry. Okay. So we need to start looking at other sources of funding. I don't think we're going to resolve this one very quickly. Right. So what we need to do is, I would also add my commendations that I've been particularly concerned about compliance issues on terms like fire PAT testing and everything else, and they are included in the present status. We've got one thing, the PAT testing was a little bit.
There's one thing outstanding on the Empire CMR, and the fitness connection is all completed.
That's great.
So
Okay.
we have a sort
well
of
done for getting all of these things
compliance
sorted.
checklist that's all been done.
Yeah, because they are absolutely critical. If something goes seriously wrong, as landlords, we have to be very mindful of our responsibilities. Councillor Watts.
Yeah, just on the cinema, which I've taken a particular interest in, there are a couple of other options to add, I think.
Yes.
You've got 5 options there. Number 6 would be to enforce the lease, because the lease is not being complied with. I think you mentioned that in the report. It's a full repairing lease, the property's in a bad state. And the other option is to explore whether the property could be divested to a charitable trust or a similar trust, similar to the Arms and Trifton Bill, that kind of project where you've got a committee of trustees who can actually deal purely with this project and apply for grants from heritage, etc.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Just on that point, the Carlton Cinema in Westgate, I can try and find out how that's run because it's in a similar situation.
Oh, very helpful. Yeah, please.
Bruce Cinema, that's Benson.
Carlton.
The Carlton in which is
In Westgate.
Sorry?
a very nice little cinema.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a big cinema.
Yes,
Yes.
it wasn't ever lived and it's been turned into something.
Well, the only other item, we're asked to do 3 things. Again, let me just bring up what we're asked to do. We're asked to note the report and then specifically related to the Empire Cinema to allocate the budget for 3,000 to find money for a RICS valuation of the cinema. rather than using an estate agent.
Oh, definitely not an estate agent. That doesn't hold any weight at all.
Okay,
So, yeah, the estate agents, that's not going to give us the weight that we need. So we look at a RICS chartered surveyor, which is within the scope of the lease as well, where, you know, if you cannot agree certain terms, we need a valuation for, you know, casual valuation and also for the market rent.
okay.
You will not get that from the estate agent, so that's what, that is the next step in this long process, or in this process.
Are there any questions about that second part about getting RICS rather than anyone else? Okay, in that case, I'd like to propose that we note the report. I'll propose that. Can I have a second as well? Seconded. That's unanimous, is it? Right. Then the second part is, are we supportive of the request to reallocate the legal budget of £3,000 to provide money for RICS? Councillor Wiles proposing. Can I have a second, please? Okay, I'll second it then, and that's unanimous. Okay. The other item we have to talk about, and it really we didn't discuss it in detail, we looked at the answer, is an update on where we are with the tenders for the car park. And again, that is a somewhat emotional subject, and I do wish someone else to. But someone, we should have had. I should have dragooned somebody into being volunteering to be the chair for this committee. We really are being asked us to note what the situation is. There are some cost reports there. It's interesting that they're spending 24% of the revenue just on operations and enforcement. It seems a heck of a high sum to be spending, but maybe, whereas ANPR would eliminate a lot of these problems.
Correct. Yeah. This is an ongoing side.
Okay, I've got Councillor Chip and then Councillor Wiles.
Yes, a couple of comments. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So the current arrangement is that the car park forms part of a bigger piece of management by Dover District Council. So the income we get is based on everything that happens in the town, not just what happens in that space. Yes? So we take a percentage.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
So, yeah, it's the paid display both car parks and
This
the
is why I'm
percentage.
struggling a bit, because I don't think we've got what we need. So some of the questions that came out, the areas that require further clarification, for example, maintenance costs of this space is another clarification we need.
That's right.
Actual income of that space.
We have got that. It's on the
We've
report.
got the two machines.
But also, we should have a sensitivity analysis if the usage reduces, because at the moment, we are dependent on that income. Our budget is a key feed into the town council's budget. Yeah. Or into STBF budget, apologies. If the usage drops, or if we decide to give more free time, we need to understand what that sensitivity impact it will have on the budget. And that's a piece of work that needs to be done.
Sure. So,
Because what will happen is, I can guarantee to you, when we come to discuss it, we go down the route of another provider, should the cost be
yes.
comparable. People say, oh, let's give an hour's free parking. And they just say that in this room without understanding the sensitivity of doing that.
Of course. So what there will be, I mean, this is one of the proposals, which are obviously, because it's commercially sensitive, so I'm not going to start reading it out. But yeah, this is what's happening at the moment. So we're analysing, we're going to be able to do like-for-like comparisons.
So we can get some more information, I think. John, and then was it Councillor Wiles, did you have a point you wanted to make?
Yeah, it's interesting report. We're being asked to note it, so I was just going to propose that we note it and wait an update. I mean, just one point in terms of money collection. I had this sort of fanciful notion that we could go back in time and have, someone with a satchel
Level pouch, yeah.
The old toll bridge. It would be a popular thing in the town to parking is such
parking attendance.
Parking is such a hot issue that if we visibly seem to be offering free hours and collecting money, personally, it would be popular. That's my only thought. Popular for whom? In the town, generally.
Do you think?
Generally,
Well,
Let's not get into that debate, we could be here for
because
days.
the number plate recognition systems are not popular, are they?
They're not, but it's the way it is. So it's, not paying by coins, but it is the way that it's gone.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. John?
Yeah, I mean, I think quite an interesting point. I mean, some of the figures that have been shown for the income and for the expenditure are very interesting. We have no transparency on what they do.
Yes.
They can do what they wish because they are running it and they don't have to divulge that. So they have two guys that are walking around town, wandering around, and they decide the percentage of how much comes to us because of one car park, when you could just send two guys straight to the car park, banged up, and we have no control over that. We are paying for the fact they're walking around, wandering around, and operating their own process. And they can effectively charge us the rates. The rates are astronomical now. Now, that's like turkeys voting for Christmas because they can charge themselves what they want.
Yeah.
Then they continue that, well, we're doing it. Now, obviously, there is a possibility which has been put in the report that because it's the charity, that we will get huge exemptions on that because of the status of being a charity. So that might do away with a substantial cost there. And then there is the maintenance and what they spend on different things. And again, we see nothing to do with where it's spent. They don't tell us what that is. They take an overall budget, they split it between all the parking sites and say, this is our share. So if they have, as I say, some people collecting unpaid parking fees, of which we don't get the proceeds, we just get the cost of operating the parking attendants, then we don't know whether it's been equally charged to us. So it does take back a lot more control. I understand that some people say also about electronic or non-electronic and things like that. It's just cleaner. We can have someone doing it cash if you want, but there's risk of security, people stealing, crime, things like that if you have cash machines. And it reduces that risk as well. And a lot of places go down that. So there's a lot of interesting points there. But that's what I'm saying.
There are. Councillor Wise.
The other point to note, the point I made previously, is that this doesn't have to continue as a car park. It could be built upon, or part of it could be built upon. Medical practice was built on the car park. So it's brownfield land which could be developable.
Or we could put a big roof on it with plenty of solar panels.
And that's in my report, my actual other report, the asset report. It's in there.
Councillor Tucker.
yeah, sorry, just one thing that, if you could educate me on this in case I missed it when it was discussed, but in terms of the proposals that were invited, it includes 8 AM till 10 AM as a free parking on Saturdays.
Yes.
Was that something that came to the council? So
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it
What was the
was
rationale for it?
supporting local businesses, so people can come in, get what they want and go.
8 AM?
8 AM to 10 AM, people come into the market, buy something and go. It was approved, it was on my proposal. It works in other towns. They have a free slot, encourage people to come in, get what they want and then they
What's the
go.
start time for the market on Saturdays?
Around about 9 o'clock, people start.
Councillor Tucker. I think we've had enough discussion on this. We've only been asked, as Councillor Wise has reminded us twice now, we've only asked to note the report. I've got one slight caveat, which is with the quality of the mobile signal in Sandwich.
Chair, this is such a difficult topic. I just wonder if it's an area where a working group might be suitable, so we can explore all of the.
Well, I'm going to be bringing forward proposals. So we had, again, there's a lot. As soon as you start looking at this, you then start, well, who's going to pay for the lighting? Who owns the lampposts and everything else? So there is a lot there. And I think that, I've got a proposal in front of me here, and that worries me because it's a lot, what they're talking about is a lot more money than we're currently getting. That's even worse in a way.
That was always my expectation.
Yeah. So, there is a lot that still needs to be done. But as far as a working group, I don't know. From my point, that's your decision. Whether I'll be here for it, I can't tell you.
The one point I would make is there's just going to be a lot of doing. should we consider rolling this in with the review of the properties that we said we're going to have examine a meeting?
It's all on there. It's all on both. It's going to be both anyway, isn't it? So it's going to be in there.
And I propose we note.
We note the report. Thank you. I think that's a second. Right.
Well done.
Last item of business then, date and time of the next meeting, Wednesday, 23rd of September 26, after STCF and GP. Thank you very much for your patience, folks. We'll try to get as quickly as we can, but it's been interesting. And thank you to the three officers
Yes,
for
thank you very much.
staying.
During this,
The quality of the reports. They've all been extremely good. And thank you to all three of you.
So as far as, I'll just turn the machine off.
Congratulations on your appointment.
Oh, thank you. I saw you wanted